Facebook shares plunged as the social media giant was pounded by criticism over revelations that a firm working for Donald Trump's presidential campaign harvested and misused data on 50 million members. This all comes from some remarkable piece of investigative journalism, not least from Channel 4 into Cambridge Analytica. All right, so what does it all mean and what does it mean for us? Professor Kevin Curran joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Professor. Thanks very much again for coming on the show.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, so in a nutshell, what have we learned about Cambridge Analytica, how they got information and how that information was used?
Yeah, so Cambridge Analytica are the controversial data firm which claims to have helped Donald Trump win the US presidency and Brexit as well, upturn the odds against, remaining in the EU. But so what they did was they obtained 15 million Facebook profile data points, really, or actually profiles, really, from a third party, where actually what it was, there was a number of years ago, a research paper was written, and the research paper, which was published in the National Academy of Sciences, claimed that by just looking at people's likes, that it was able to build up a profile of that person to see, with X percent, what ethnicity were they, were they Republican or Democratic when we're talking about the United States, what was their gender, and of course, what was their sexuality. So this paper was picked up by the people that were politicians basically in the US, so lobbyists. And then they came along and approached Cambridge Analytica to see could they do this for their political campaign. So again, that is, for instance, that just by looking at likes, again, the fact is that political ads could be tailored at someone because if someone liked something to do with maybe putting up a wall in Mexico between the US, then that person would get different likes from someone else who put up a like to do with something which was democratic. So therefore, political ads could be aimed at these people differently so that they live in different bubbles and that the political parties could just tailor their political messages for these people who were unaware that their data had been trolled.
And even more specifically than that, Professor, it's the case, is it not, that they didn't have to influence the entire country. With the information they had and the fact that it was so sort of individual specific to some extent, they were able to target areas that would, you'd only have to maybe influence a couple of 100,000 people to make a really significant difference, because we do know, of course, that Donald Trump lost the popular vote.
Exactly, and again, I suppose the thing that a lot of people are very upset about is, now I will say that the data was trolled back in 2013-14. Again, now, so since then, the fact is, what the researcher did to get all this data was he created an app called This Is Your Digital Life, and they actually paid people, 270,000 people, $2.5 each, to do this, so that they could look at their Facebook profile and get the data off there when they used the app, this personality test. But what they did was, when people were using a Facebook app back then, you were able to get also the data from everyone's friends. And the average people using this had about 200 friends. So in the end, by just targeting these 270,000 people using an ad or an app, they were able to get 15 million profiles. And again, that's what's upset a lot of people, is because the fact is that people would not have been aware that if their friends downloaded an app and used it, that their information from Facebook would also be leaked to these third parties again. So again, now Facebook have blocked that in recent years.
But they didn't tell us. That's the thing, Professor. They didn't tell us. They knew this was going on. It was flagged to them, and they didn't tell us.
Exactly, that they didn't. And they approached the company Cambridge Analytica when they found out about this, and they asked them to delete it. And what's since come to mind is that Cambridge Analytica, it seems, did not remove the data for the 50 million profiles that they downloaded. So we're seeing calls from the Irish Data Commissioner, Helen Dixon, asking really they're conducting a probe into Facebook Ireland about this, because the thing is about ads, especially, in Ireland or anywhere else, that generally everything that's spent for an ad has to be transparent. That if you put up a poster, you have to be able to see who paid for it and everything else. But when it comes to social media, around the world that the laws are just free. You can spend up to whatever you want. There's no targets. There's no budget restrictions as such. So what we're seeing is a free-for-all, and that's why a lot of political companies are moving to the online social networks like Facebook to spend their ad money. But of course, that the legislation which has been formed well over hundreds of years doesn't seem to apply online.
No, and when something is free, when a product is free, then invariably we become the product, and that's what we are. We are a product. Facebook users.
We absolutely are. Of course we are, because none of us pay for Facebook. We go onto Facebook, and Facebook are one of the giants of the advertising world right now, along with Google. All the ad money is going online, and Facebook are gobbling up the vast majority of it. And again, they do that because they have great insight into who we are. They know who we are. They know our email. They know our age, our gender, our friends. Just like we're seeing here, our likes, our preferences, and they can come along and sell this to these third-party ad brokers, of course, and that allows them, for instance, how to come along. So if I'm advertising a Jeep right now, I don't want to target students who have no money. I might not want to target anyone who doesn't own their own house or whatever else. So I can go to Facebook, I can go along. There's about 100 features I can choose from, and I can choose from what type of person, what type of salary, do they own their own house, are they male or they female. I can choose all these things and build up a profile and send that then to Facebook. And Facebook will come back and give me, now they're all anonymized, they don't get names, but they will come back and give me 1 million records, 2 million records of the people who fit the profile I've chosen for my particular ad. And up until we've had Facebook, you could not do that, because generally people surfing online were anonymous. They were just visiting a site. You had no details about them. But Facebook have built up this wonderful profile about who we are, things which are a gem for advertisers. And that's how they are slowly really taking all the money that previously was spent in newspapers and TV stations around the world, and it's all been moved online.
Now, people can go on to Facebook and they can find out the third-party apps that they've given access to. A lot of them could be simple things like, what would I look like as a girl, or whatever gender you are in the opposite, or whichever combination. All of that kind of stuff. Once you click and allow them to access your wall, access your friends, access your likes and preferences, and so many of us do, and quite a few of us don't, but you are giving permission to some extent for people to have your information, are you not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I would say is, you just got to be aware of that when we're online, really, that our data is being harvested. Now, again, it's not, some of it is not as private. It only works sometimes when it comes to a global moves like this, where actually people are pooling all the likes of hundreds of thousands and millions of people to be able to build up these profiles. But we just got to be aware that literally that when you're signed up to these social networks, that literally your data is being passed on to third parties again, that you are being targeted as an individual with this micro targeting, really. And just to be aware. Now, you can go, of course, to Facebook and you can go into the settings and you can download your personal data. Again, I recommend you do that in a PC or a Mac, because some of it can be 200 megs plus, which is quite a big download. But you will be able to see again, and it'll come down with the details about you from your profile. Again, your complete friends history. Again, your messages will come down, the ones you haven't deleted. You'd be surprised, and people should do that to see what data you've already given. And again, it will also link, of course, to the third-party apps that you've done. And there's a lot of information that people just may not be aware that actually Facebook have already garnered from the site, again, and from who your friends are.
So, to some extent, too, there is this sort of like movement for people to deactivate their Facebook accounts. And I have looked into some of them, and, you can kind of see where they would very much have an interest in people deactivating their Facebook accounts en masse, and it wouldn't be necessarily for the benefit of the person they're suggesting it should be done. So in other words, even as this story rumbles on, there are people using its fallout perhaps to their own end. So in reality, do you think, we just need to be more aware, do we not? There's no need, is there not, to cancel everything? I mean, if you use OK Google, or my phone's going to go off now, or Hey Google, or any of those, every single audio message that you put into your phone or into your Google Home or whatever is stored. The actual audio file is stored. If I drive home, my information of where I am and when I stop is being sent up to Google to assist in maps. It is all happening, so there's no point us all focusing on this one aspect, is there?
No, exactly. No, and you're right. I will say that they don't store your audio. That they do have that those personal assistants you have do, once you say the keyword Alexa or OK Google, they will pick up and listen and do a voice analysis on that and then give you the request. But it does not store. A
Oh, it
record of what
does.
you said.
It does.
No,
I can listen. I can listen back 2 years to mine, and I have done. Every OK Google, every what time it is, every set an alarm. I've actually listened back to 18 months ago to actual audio clips from Google's website of me saying it.
Sorry, you're dead right. You can get that from the profile. I'm sorry, you're dead right. I was getting mixed up, sorry, with the thing that people worry about, that is listening all the time, which it is.
Okay, I understand, Professor. I beg your pardon. They closed that. That was happening, but they did remove that, didn't they?
That's right. You're dead right, because I've seen myself. And of course, it's not listening all the time and wait for the keywords. But of course, no, I'm not as worried. I think as long as the benefits outweigh the negatives. Look, so Facebook has a lot of benefits. In other words, that we are connected to our family, we're connected with friends. Of course, it's an easy way to store information about a trail of your history. Again, it opens up just social communication. As long as you're aware, of course. I mean, you can make bigger mistakes by sharing something and doing something silly online that's kind of there as a record or being shared among a network. So that could lead to more things. And of course, Google store an enormous amount of data on us, just like you say, in our search history. Again, the location we've been, everywhere you've been, once you have an Android phone and you're logged in as a profile, every location you've been in is stored. You can go back and look on a map to see where you were in a particular day and drill into it. It's quite incredible, the location history, which is stored by Google. So, and if you don't have the Facebook, you're going to move on to another social network like Twitter, because people will be connected. And when you go to places like college, again, if you're a young person or connected to networks, again, an awful lot of events are all moving on to social networks. So you would be at a loss in society right now if you weren't connected to some of these social networks. So,
and check the news, Professor. A lot of it's common sense that we need to sort of say, right, Rowan Atkinson cannot die in a car crash again. So that's fake news. Stop clicking on it. Stop sharing it. And people that say, Facebook want to take down this picture of the UFO, keep sharing it. Use your brain, and sort of say, well, why am I being asked to click this, share this? What is it in it for me? Nothing,
Exactly. I mean, I would see the fake news as a bigger problem. The fact is, that some people that haven't got a critical analysis of what is a reputable news source and what is real, that we all get in our profile feed things which have been shared which are utterly false, from signs or claims, and that is quite annoying. So the fake news is actually a worse problem than this again. So just to be aware that, again, because it's not as if they're the only ones. Of course, like everything we're doing, Amazon are also collecting a lot of data points about it. So anything you're online about, if you want to be secure online, you just don't buy a computer. So we're giving away information online all the time. And again, it's not as if the worst data breach hasn't happened yet, and that comes from internet service providers, again, that have all your search history and everything else. If that ever gets leaked, that's going to be a real data breach. So no matter what we do, generally we're being traced. Again, but of course we have to always, so these debates are welcome, like what's happening now, because we have to put the onus back onto the main giants to protect their data, to ensure that they're being transparent about it. And that's why we have the data protection laws coming in. And again, in May, we're seeing this big one from Europe, the GDPR coming in, where again that is really holding the giants, the IT giants, more accountable for what they do and what they can do with our data. And of course, that a lot of firms will now face fines again, that up to 20 million, or sorry, up to 4% of their turnover, which could run into hundreds of millions for the big data giants again. So again, we're seeing society is actually putting the onus really onto the people who are storing our data to make sure that they're keeping it secure and that they're really being transparent about what they do with it and who they pass it on to.
Professor, it's always a pleasure. It's always real news, never fake news from you. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
All right, Professor Kevin Curran there, Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University Hospital. We have run slightly over.